The truth about you can't be controlled. And the key to getting the life that you want and changing the world has everything to do with remembering who you are as a wild soul. You don't want safety, you want adventure. God doesn't live in what you know. God lives in who you are and in how you feel. I want you to have a wild life beyond your wildest dreams.
There's a lot of putting up with. There's a lot of fitting in but not really fitting in. There's a lot of that going around. And I want you to know that if you have that in your life, that is something calling to you. If you have that in your life, the time has passed to ignore that and to put up with anymore. As a child of God, you are entitled to a certain level of being happy that's not controversial. Instead, if you feel that owie in your soul, I want you to realize that something is calling to you. Something deeper, something more. In fact, that is God calling to you, saying, quit it. Paraphrasing. There's something powerful about that. I mean, think about it. What's the alternative? The alternative is to walk around blaming everything else. You know, everything would be fine, but it's that guy at work. Everything would be fine, but it's that situation out there. Everything would be fine, but those people on the news. Ugh. And I get that. Boy, I get it. But on the other hand, to the degree that I put my blame outside myself, I also put my power outside myself. To the degree that the problem is somewhere else, the solution is nowhere that I can access. You know what I mean? So instead, what if it's somewhere else? And in fact, let me say it this way. That situation that you're not crazy about, that job, that relationship, that whatever it is that doesn't feel right, whatever that is, think about it for a second. And think about this. Somewhere in the world, as inexplicable as it may seem, somewhere in the world there's someone who would like to be there. That job that is the opposite of a dream job for you is a dream job for somebody else. That person that you not only don't want to be with, but would like to take them to Dr. Phil, that's somebody else's dream boat. Think about that. Think about that. Wow. The situation that you don't want to be in, it's not the situation at all because somebody else would be happy there. It's not the outer thing ever. The problem is somewhere else. In fact, the problem is that I'm not supposed to be there. The problem is, in fact, that maybe I'm in somebody else's way, but we'll get to that some other time. The problem is not anywhere outside. The problem instead is the lie that I tell myself to get through the day. The problem is the little fibs, the little white lies. The problem, in fact, is the lie. Turns out, we are, all of us, allergic to the things that bulls leave behind. Think about that. And whenever you feel that splinter in your heart, whenever you feel that moment of, ooh, this doesn't fit right, go, you know what, my allergy's kicking up. I got to do something different. I feel it. I got to do something. I got to change something. There is a deep calling there. It is a beautiful thing to know that you are allergic to lies. And then when you feel it kick in, it's time to do something about that. And I know that that might sound weird coming from a minister. It might sound weird coming from a church because a lot of times churches tell you to put up with, thou shalt sit still. Right? Have you heard that in one way or another? In one form or another, the idea that religion is supposed to help you just deal. Just sit still. Just put your head down. And you know, in fact, if you've got questions, better not ask them. We have a phone number. If you've got questions, better not challenge because you know what? You're sinful and you're not supposed to know. And you know what? It's going to be okay later. If you can be miserable enough and make other people miserable enough for long enough, you get to go to heaven or nirvana or wherever. You get to go away. If you put up with for long enough, you get to escape. Never mind the fact that our hero showed up and helped people here. Think about that. If all I'm trying to do is get away, it makes it very difficult for me to make a difference where I am. And so maybe the goal is not sitting still. Maybe the goal is not predictability. Maybe the goal is not the safety that we have been promised in some churches. Maybe the goal is anything but safety. Maybe I'm not supposed to know how it's supposed to go. Maybe, stick with me, maybe safety is God's job. And maybe my ideas about how things are supposed to go aren't really all that important. And in fact, maybe they're what's getting me into trouble in the first place. Think about it with me. God's job is the safety stuff. My job is to show up. Oh, that's a better job description. Man, oh man, I'm not going to have to call HR after all. My job is just to show up. Everything else is God's job. And in fact, when you think about how important safety has become for us, it's not just in church, it's every product. Live your life in this way and you will be predictable. We can guarantee a reasonable rate of return. Get this degree and everyone will know exactly what you're going to do. And it will be horrible your whole life. But don't worry about that because, you know what I mean? It's every product. But no product actually gives us the safety and the predictability, and that's why there's always another product. You ever notice that? It's always the same because you can't get that from that. And in fact, it's because safety is not really what you want. There's that great Grace Hopper quote. She says, "A ship in a port is safe, but that's not what ships are for. It's not what you are for." If what you want is safety and predictability, probably the best place for you to be is in prison. It's really safe. They got big walls. You know when your meals are happening. They give you a little outfit to wear. The whole thing. Very predictable. Very safe. Is that what you want? Because I got to tell you, everybody in the prison wants out. You can keep your predictability. Think about that. Because there's a part of each and every one of us that wants to be free. There is a part of each and every one of us that does not want to know what's going to happen next. There's a part of each and every one of us that is wild and pure and true. And that part is God talking. Safety ain't all that safe. Anybody that's ever been laid off knows that. Safety ain't all that safe. Instead, if you want a life that works, if you want to find answers, if you want to find healing, if you want the miracle, stop trying to be safe. Let God do God's job and instead find something that you can be passionate about. That word, enthusiasm, comes from the Greek meaning entheos, which means God in me. Did you know that? That's a lot. But enthusiasm is how you get to immortality. Enthusiasm is how you connect with God. Enthusiasm is what does it, not predictability. Stop it. Now, once again, I know that might sound weird coming from a pastor. I don't know where you went to Sunday school. But it's very possible that if you did go to Sunday school, you heard the gospel of the doormat Jesus. You know what I mean? The Jesus who was anything but enthusiastic. The Jesus that kind of moped around and made you feel guilty all the time. The Jesus that never spoke up. Jesus, what would you like for the Last Supper? I don't know. Where do you guys want to go? You know what I mean? It is very possible that you were taught that Jesus was the ultimate codependent. And being a Christian meant just sort of putting up with and turning the other cheek until you are spinning like a top. Now, it doesn't really work very well. Because this is the same idea that we're supposed to also believe that Jesus is the personification of love. If you've ever been in love, you know that love doesn't hold still. Love is a power that moves. Love is a force. And to quote Han Solo, the force don't work that way. Think about it. When you've been in love, you fall in love. Love moves you. Love doesn't hold still. And when you think about what we actually know about Jesus, what we've read in the scripture, Jesus stood up. Jesus spoke up. I'm here to help you. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. In other words, this old stuff's got to go. It's time to kick over some tables in the temple. It's not time to let toxic stuff continue. That don't make you a good Christian. We move in peace, on purpose, like the song says. But we move. The gospel of Jesus Christ is the gospel of all the way. When you want to forgive somebody, it's 70 times 7 until you can't even remember what you were forgiving. If somebody asks for your coat, give them your cloak too. Everything, all the way, all the time. That is the ministry of Jesus Christ. It is the ministry of get out of the way. Because if God has already got this, then it wouldn't be God otherwise. My job is just to get out of the way. I don't have to make this happen anymore. Oh, that's good. I'm sick of trying to make it happen. It has never worked out. The moment you let go, things change. The moment you let go, things change. Jesus' ministry was, the only thing different about me is that I know who I am. Our Father. The only thing different about me is that I have gotten all of my stuff out of the way, so to speak. In other words, as he said, they who have seen me have seen the Father. In other words, the family resemblance gets to shine through because there's nothing standing in the way. So ask yourself, what can I get out of the way? That's my job. I am in the garbage removal business. Get your stuff out of the way, because as it turns out, they who have seen me have seen the Father is a great way to live. And in fact, it's not even the word Father. If you know your scripture, Jesus used the word Abba, which is a baby talk word. In other words, no formality, no barriers, just love. Can you be that way? Not just with some abstract concept, but with the God you see in His children all around you. Can you be that Abba level of no distance? There's a dancing queen joke there, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just not. I'm just not. Sorry. My point is, God is a pretty good parent. Your job is to be a good kid. That's it. And being a good kid means being in touch with that childlike nature that we all have. When you were a kid, you were an adventurer. When you were a kid, you were wild. When you were a kid, it was before anybody told you to sit still. Don't sit still. Sorry, parents in the room with your kids, but gotta be said. Your job is to be that way again. Because a deep, powerful magic comes through when we are true. When we just play. That's where this happens. Because once again, think about it. Does God get sick or hurt or afraid? Of course not. God doesn't even know about those things. Wouldn't be God otherwise, right? So if I have a problem, where is the problem? Is it up in the stars? Do I shake my fist at God for being late on my bills? It's not God. If you have a problem, where is the problem? And I don't want to get into the blame department. That's not where I'm going. But what I'm trying to say is the power to get in the way is my power. God didn't throw me a curveball. God's just God all the time. That's how God works. That's God's job. Right? So, spirituality is the process of getting out of God's way. That's all this is. So what do you need in order to get out of the way? What books do you need to read? It doesn't matter. There's no detail that you have to do. I have to read this book. I have to learn these affirmations. I have to wear this special hat. Whatever it is. And this is important because there's a lot of people that will sell you a lot of paraphernalia. Oh, you cannot get spiritual without your lucky astrology mood watch. Oh. You have last year's watch? Oh, it's worse than the iPhone. Seriously. But when you think about it, all of the special techniques and trade secrets are fancy ways to try and get God to do what I want. Oh, if you read this book, you can attract what you want out of God, because God apparently is sleeping on the job, and I've got to tell God. Your Father knows what you ask before you ask it. Think about that. It's not my job to submit orders like God is some kind of cosmic short order cook. It is my job to say, you know what, it's not that I want more of me. My job is not to have God do what I say. My job is to say, okay, God, how can I be the miracle? What do you got for me? What can I do? How can I serve? How can I love? What does love look like? Because here's the thing. Imagine Moses at the shores of the Red Sea. Okay, we did all these great things. The Pharaoh's army is coming. We got to get across that water. If it was Moses' job to figure out, his solution probably would have involved boats. Think about it. My solution would involve boats. Everybody roll up your pants. Think about it. What we want is less of our solutions and our stuff. That's all ego. And what we want is more of, okay, God, you're in charge. What do you got for me? And how can I get out of the way? And you know what? It's been beautiful when there are moments when it just feels so pure and so true that you just set your stuff down. Like a child putting aside clothing that they've outgrown. I don't need this anymore. I get it, God, okay? And you know what? It's also great when in those moments where things are so bad that you just, I can't anymore. I give, God, okay. Easy way or hard way, we grow. Easy way or hard way, God is calling. So here is your homework. God is calling, listen. God is calling, listen. It turns out that control, that safety, is the opposite of faith. When I get past what I know, I find where God lives. Faith happens, miracles happen, magic happens when I get out of my comfort zone and into faith. So what can you do to step past it? Do that thing you're afraid of doing because that fear ain't God's fear. Do that thing. Speak those words. Go get that phone number. Talk to your boss. Do something. And then do something else. It happens. I'm going to say it again. When you get out of your comfort zone and into faith, that's when the mountains move. You worried about something? It's okay. But let that go. Give it to God. Set it free. Because, after all, freedom is a choice. Thank you.